Good morning, everyone from Vietnam. Hello. Do you hear me all well? If you do, please type yes or give me any reaction just to show me that we're all here together. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. I've seen a lot of people from different angles of the world, and this is the very first time the EduVerse webinar has welcomed that many people from different corner of the world. So thank you again for joining us today. I hope that you still remember me. I'm Han Nguyen, and I'm your host, and I'm thrilled to have you all here within this enlightening session entitled Crafting the Future, AI Literacy in Education. Before we delve into our main topic today, let me quickly introduce our esteemed presenter, Dr. Christina Agnew. With over 3 decades in education, Dr. Christina Agnew is a fervent advocate for integrating AI into learning. Her book, titled AI Engaged Future-Proof Education, reflects her mission to empower educators in adopting AI effectively and ethically, addressing common apprehensions and providing practical strategies for its integration. Now, a word about EduVerse, the driving force behind today's webinar. Powered by ProEd Education Solutions, EduVerse PD Network, it's a platform for global educators to share and get shared, all about education. EduVerse is committed to providing educators with invaluable learning opportunities and resources. From monthly newsletters on cutting-edge educational trends to live webinars every 2 months. We're dedicated to your professional growth, all at free of charge. Today, Dr. Agnew will not only shed light on the importance of AI literacy, but also offer practical strategies for integrating AI into educational curricula and learning experiences. Drawing from research-based practices, we aim to equip educators and learners alike with actionable insights and frameworks to enhance their AI literacy. After the webinar, please take a moment to complete a short survey to help us serve you better. Certificates, download instructions will be emailed to you within 1 day. Without further ado, let's immerse ourselves in the world of AI education. Feel free to ask questions and absorb all you can from this session. Thank you, and Dr. Agnew, over to you.
Hello and good morning. I'm excited to be here. I am coming to you from Connecticut in the United States. So it's actually 10 p.m. at night and almost my bedtime. But I'm really excited to be sharing this information with you today. And I did have an opportunity to review already in advance some of the questions that you had coming into this webinar, and I'll try to do that as we move through. I will also stop and every now and then and ask if you have questions related to the content that you can put right into the chat. And at the end as well, we'll be able to answer any additional questions or perhaps anything that I might have missed. So I'm going to get started with you here, and I am going to share my screen with you and we'll get rolling. Okay, so we're here today to talk about crafting the future of education and doing that through AI literacy. And today is the 5th webinar that EduVerse is presenting for us. So who am I and why am I talking about this? I have a PhD in adult learning and development and a master's in computers and education, or what is commonly known as educational technology. I have been in the field of education in multiple capacities, all the way down from being a preschool teacher, a preschool director, elementary school, public school teacher, and also I have worked both as a faculty member in higher education and also as a program director or academic program manager. And I really focus and drill in on teaching and learning and education leadership. And of course, my passion, that technology education, and it is completely impossible to ignore what's happening today in this world with AI becoming so prevalent and everywhere around us, from our homes to our places of work to our schools. And so I have been dedicating the last year and a half about to helping schools, K-12, as well as institutions of higher education, integrate AI effectively and ethically. And as mentioned, I do have a book called AI Engaged, I also have a complete framework for preparing teachers and learners for the ethical and effective use of AI, because we know that if our teachers are going to teach something, we want them to understand it and to also be competent in that area. And so we've really got to start looking at how do we prepare our educators so that they can hand down this information to our students. And right now, most of our teachers have not had any formal training in AI. And I'm seeing that in the states of the United States. We've talked about a little bit on a global scale. Teachers just aren't getting the information because most school districts don't have someone who can easily chat about it, and B, because there just isn't enough time in the day, is what I'm hearing, for additional PD. And so this is great when these opportunities arise so that you can, build your own skill set and get some understanding. And so today, in response to the questions that were provided ahead of time, there were some questions about what is AI and how is AI different from generative AI. So we'll look at some of those foundational elements, and then we're going to talk about AI literacy. And we'll talk about what it is and why it's important. And then how do we support AI literacy? How do we integrate this into our schools, into our classrooms, into our curriculum, our lessons? And whether you teach kindergarten or higher education, this information is applicable, right? We all need to learn these skills. So without further ado, let's kind of hop in here and start talking about those foundational elements of AI. So what are those building blocks? And when we talk about AI, there are basically three types of AI that are out there in the world right now. And the first one is narrow AI, and that is definitely what we are seeing here and now, today, right? Narrow AI is programmed to do simple tasks, things like facial recognition, speech recognition. It can simulate human behavior based on some parameters or some data. Some examples are speech and language recognition by Siri. So if you use an Apple phone and you say, I have to do this quietly or my phone is going to respond to me. But if I say SIRI, what's the weather like today? I'll get an answer, right? We've got self-driving cars. We've got recommendation systems like when you tune into Netflix or Spotify or Apple Music, when it's making suggestions, it's using an AI format based on your own activities or what you've done in the past, and it's looking at that data and making suggestions. So we're living in the world of narrow AI right now, where we're completing simple tasks. And I know you're probably thinking, well, it's not so simple, but when we start looking at other types of AI, such as general AI, that's when we're starting to look at machines being able to think, comprehend, learn, and apply intelligence to solve problems that are more complex. It's also known as strong AI. So it's really tapping in and thinking like a human. It's trying to answer those questions with an understanding of all aspects, of all human aspects. And then here's the one where we hear a lot of chatter about what scares everybody. If you're like me, I don't know how old you are or what your experience is with movies, but you see the movies where I I can think of Space Odyssey, which came out when I was younger, and it was space, and the computer took over the spaceship, right? So this is when that would be a great example of super AI. It surpasses human intelligence. It can outperform humans, right? And not only that, it can evoke emotions, beliefs, and desires of their own similar to humans. And so no, we are not there yet, and many people find that that idea of super AI to be a little bit frightening because we're really allowing AI to jump ahead of us. And so when we look at AI and this area, AI really is a giant umbrella, right? We can think about AI as the big umbrella, or here you can see the larger black circle in the back. And there are many types of AI that even fall under that narrow AI type, right? So things like machine learning, which I'm sure you've heard. We see a lot of machine learning in education. It's using algorithms, right? It has the ability to learn without explicitly somebody programming it. We've got deep learning, right? Which is a subset of machine learning, right? Artificial neural networks, larger data sets, and all the way down to data science, which is, we're seeking to extract value from our data. So when we're looking at AI and we're saying, hey, I've got this data, I want to figure out what it all means, it falls all under that. We can use different types of AI to get the answers we need, depending upon the type of data we have, the size of the data set, and the type of AI tools that are available to us. So think of artificial intelligence as the big bubble, and within it, or a big umbrella under it, are all different types. And these are just, deep learning and machine learning are two of many, many, many types. They are more of the common ones that we do see. So when we talk about what we see being used in education, this is a study from 2023, and it is based in the United States. We do see that in our K-12 environments, our educators and our students and our parents are using or encourage the use of or want the use of tools like ChatGPT, which is a generative AI tool, another type of AI. And so if we know that 63% of teachers are using ChatGPT and 40% of teachers are using it on a weekly basis, we know that 42% of students in K-12 are using ChatGPT. And as you look at that number, the older the students, the higher the rate of usage, which makes sense. And so about 25% of our high school students who are using ChatGPT are indeed using it for schoolwork. So are all students using ChatGPT or other generative AI tools for schoolwork? No. One of the biggest fears, and this is one of the questions I saw that was sent in prior to the webinar, was, hey, how are students using this to cheat? And how do we stop them from cheating? What's actually happening with most students, so 25% are using it for schoolwork. The other 75% are using it for personal reasons. Maybe they're working on something that they're doing for their own, maybe they're writing a song, maybe they're working on lyrics for a song they might be writing, for example, or they're creating, or they're doing something for their own personal use. But students are also using it to boost their skills. There are many students using these types of tools, ChatGPT or other generative AI, to create study guides, to get feedback on their papers. It is not the lazy students who are using AI. In fact, they're finding that it's some of the best and the brightest students are using AI not to cheat, but to enhance their learning. And I think that's a really important fact something really important to keep in the back of your head, because we assume, right? Oh, they're going to use it. They're going to write their paper with it. They're cheating. And that has been the knee-jerk reaction since these tools came on. And I can remember a year ago when I would walk into a professional development, and probably 95% of the people in the room, if I said, what do you think about ChatGPT? The response was negative, right? Cheating, abusing it, not doing their work. And now that's starting to shift because students are starting to learn how to use it to help themselves. So don't think cheating, right? Think, how can we create more positive learning experiences and encourage our students to use this the proper way? And 77% of parents believe that AI-powered tools can help their children learn. That's important, right? Because who's a driving force in our school systems? Our parents, right? They want their children to learn. And when parents are vocal about things, we often see things happening and getting done. And so I know there were many instances of ChatGPT being banned here in the United States. And parents spoke up and tried to move that forward and release those bans so that students could learn how to use them. So I mentioned generative AI, and this was a question that came up as well in the questions that you submitted ahead of time. Like, what is generative AI? How is it different than AI? So we already know that AI is that big umbrella, and generative AI falls under that umbrella. Generative AI is narrow AI, right? It's in that first section type of AI. And it's using algorithms to create something new or analyze data. And it's learning patterns from existing examples or from new data that's being put into the system. And so there are several different products that are out there, with the most common being ChatGPT. And I'm going to highlight the ones that are most commonly used. Are there others? Yes. Are there other applications that are pulling different pieces together? For example, you might find a company that provides you with a choice of 6 different generative AI tools that are different from these. Yes, there are many types of generative AI tools. A lot of them actually run on the same type of data sets as ChatGPT, for example. So it may have a different name, but it may also still be running using ChatGPT, or it may be something that is created by another company. So when we look at ChatGPT, there's the free version. There is no internet access. For my friends in higher ed, you would not use this product for research because its data set ends at 2021. There is not anything new. It can't go out and find current statistics or information. You will get what happened up until January of 2021. And when ChatGPT 3.5 or 3.0 originally was the only one out there, we could create ChatGPT proof assignments very simply by asking students to connect whatever they were working on, for example, to something that's happening in the world today, because it didn't have internet access. And then along came ChatGPT 4, right? That's the paid account. With ChatGPT 4, there are less AI hallucinations, meaning there's less made up stuff. The thing to remember about generative AI tools is it will very rarely say, gee, I don't know that. It may tell you, I can't give you that information because I can't access a document, I can't access a website, I can't access the internet. But I have yet to ever see it say, oh, I don't know the answer to that. Instead, it just makes something up. It doesn't like to look dumb, right? It likes to pretend he knows everything. So those are AI hallucinations. So that is a drawback of using generative AI tools, is they all will create false information if they don't have the information in their data set or they're unable to access it. With that paid version, there are plugins which are actually gone away in favor of GPTs. So GPTs are AI applications that have been developed by other people that you can use to customize your ChatGPT activities. For example, I could use a travel GPT and plan a trip by saying something like, I have $1,000 and I want to go to a sunny tropical location with 4-star resorts, all inclusive. The food has to be amazing. There has to be, and I could put in a whole list of what I want, and a GPT will come back with the answers for me. Right? You could go here and I could say, create an itinerary, and it would create an itinerary for me to do of activities. So GPTs are supercharged. If you think about Google or Chrome extensions, right? The plugins, GPTs are like plugins or extensions on steroids. They're super strong and they can do so much more. And that's why ChatGPT has done away with plugins, and they're only using these new GPTs that are developed by people. You could develop a GPT. And the great news is there are a ton of them that are related to education that you can hop in, create lesson plans, interactive activities. We've got Gemini, which is Google's product. It was formerly called Bard. There are paid options for Gemini. You can use it for free with your Google account. If you're in a Google Suite school, there is now the paid version of Gemini is incorporated into that in most cases, and it has more security systems for cybersecurity, keeping data safe, student information. And that's the same for ChatGPT-4. You can get an enterprise account, which protects information. Otherwise, it's important to remember that whatever you put into these tools becomes part of the training model. And that information is shared, right? That's the best way to kind of phrase it. So one of the problems that I see is that teachers are using these tools for grading, and they will take a student paper, they will upload it into ChatGPT, get feedback, upload a rubric, get great feedback. However, they just put someone else's work into a system, typically without permission, right? This is especially important in higher education. We're dealing with adults. That's intellectual property, and you cannot be adding that into a training model. So what's the solution? It's pretty simple with ChatGPT. There are settings you can adjust so that the model doesn't train on the information you're giving. But these are those little tips or little pieces that a lot of teachers don't know because they don't have that type of training. And then there's Copilot. Bing's the Copilot, which is part of the Microsoft suite. And then there's Perplexity AI. If you're doing research, I really like Perplexity AI. It's free with basic features. You can ask it questions and it will give you actual resources. They may be scholarly, they may be websites, they may be industry specific. But Perplexity is what I would go, one of the ones I would use if you're in higher education and you want to be doing research. You cannot trust ChatGPT, for example, to do your research. If I ask it for references, it always gives me the same names. Who are Smith and Lee 2021? I have no idea, but they have written every paper about everything that ever was. And when you try to find them, they just don't exist. So remember that when you're using these tools, it's always important to fact check, because one of the biggest drawbacks is they do have false information. They will provide you with things that aren't true and you won't know it. And even more importantly, they are biased because they have been trained on the internet. Everything on the internet isn't true. And you will see things like gender bias in there. For example, doctors tend to be men, teachers tend to be women. And so these are important things we've got to start talking to our students about. And we'll get a little bit more into that when I talk about AI literacy. Does anybody, if you have a question about any of this, I'm just going to check the chat real quick. Looks good. All right. So, how are we using generative AI, right? So we know these tools exist. We know they're being used both in higher education and in K-12. But what are they being used for? Primarily language generation, right? Writing assistance, content creation, helping students and teachers in their academic endeavors. For example, I mentioned you can upload a rubric and you can upload your paper and you can say, hey, can you give me some feedback based on this rubric? And ChatGPT will give you fabulous feedback to help you improve your writing. They're used for content creation, not only writing, but images. There are GPTs where you can make a customized video in 3 minutes. Upload a script. You've got a video with images and narration in 3 minutes. That's insane, right? Like something that would normally take hours can now be done in just a few minutes and enhance, right, your educational experiences for all learners. So it's not just about creating words or papers, it's images, it's videos, and it's growing exponentially the ability of these tools. It's important to know that ChatGPT is coming out with a new version, a turbo version. And the buzz about it right now is that it's going to be mind-blowing and it will do far more than anyone ever even imagined. So that may be out as early as this summer. And this is happening so fast that things are really at a pace that we've never seen before and will keep changing and moving, which is why getting those basic skills and understanding about AI and AI literacy is so important as you move ahead. And then, of course, we can use AI to personalize learning experiences and meet the needs of all of our students. For example, there are tools out there where you can choose one lesson and you have all of your students in this tool, and it will automatically look at each student's abilities and adjust the lesson for each student independently. So they're all learning the same thing, but they're learning it at the level that's most appropriate for them with a push of a button, right? So things where as educators, we would have to sit down and personalize things for our students who needed something a little bit different. Now we can push a button and everything is done. So not only is it being used in classrooms for teaching and learning, it's also being used on the administrative side, because this is not, it's a whole school or whole organizational impact, like streamlining operations, transforming time-consuming tasks into shorter things, gaining efficiency, right? Reducing labor, reducing operational costs, and enabling when these things are all automated, then university staff or high school staff or school staff in general can dedicate more time to strategic planning and their students, right? A study showed that a teacher using AI tools can save something like 6 hours a week that goes back into being dedicated to our students, right? So that prep time or what's happening in the classroom with AI, there's more direct teacher-student interaction as well. Here's a great example of how this is being used administratively in higher ed. The University of Arizona just partnered with OpenAI, and they did not partner to give their teachers or faculty or students access. They're using it in enrollment. They're using it in student support services. They're using it in advising and scheduling. All of these helping to streamline and to personalize, providing responsive and tailored support, and even helping, right, to create a more efficient academic environment, right? So there's also being used in the classrooms at Georgia Tech had an experiment done with Jill Watson. They told students that Jill Watson would be in their online discussion board courses. What they didn't tell students was that Jill Watson was actually an AI tool, right? So she served as an automated teaching assistant, and she basically answered questions on the forum. And we're talking about like frequently asked questions, right? Routine questions, not getting deep into the subject matter as specifically, but also helping to answer, questions that might have gone to the teacher. She did it with 90% accuracy and with an authenticity that students did not know she was an AI tool until they were told at the end of the course, right? And the faculty found that this AI assistant helped them manage, their large class sizes and online courses, and their workload was reduced because there was an entire set of questions that she was programmed to answer. And when they popped up, they got answered, and it came off of the teacher's plate. So administratively, this is being used as well. And so when we look at everything that's happening with AI, whether we're talking about K-12, we're talking about higher education, whether we're talking about using it in an administrative way or in our classrooms in an academic setting, we really have to prepare everyone to navigate the complexities of AI, right, in their professional or academic journeys. We need to make sure that our staff, our teachers, and our students are equipped with the skills that are necessary for an AI-driven future, right? Workplace and society, it will all be shifting to AI augmented environments. Right now, 70% of people in workplaces are using AI in some shape or form. They find that it's more often used by people in the C-suite, executives. Those with higher levels of education are absolutely using it more than others. And that brings up another point of equitable access, right? So how are we going to make sure that when our students leave us, that they're equipped and they know how to use it, so we're lessening that gap, that digital gap, by providing this within our schools. And most people in the workplace, again, haven't been trained formally so much on their tools and are looking for that as well. And so if we can start doing that now, we're going to have students who can leave our organizations or our institutions with the ability to not only do things the old-fashioned way. I can do a market analysis by hand and go in and do all my own research, and I can use an AI tool to do it. So I've got those two sides, but what we want is a balance between the two. So we don't ever want AI to be the only tool. That's because it's not infallible. It makes mistakes. So we need to make sure that when we're using AI, we've got it balanced with the human touch, and we're there in the middle, right? We bring those two things together and we synthesize. And that's what employers are looking for right now. They don't want someone who can do it the old-fashioned way. They don't want someone who just uses AI. They know it's got to be a blend and a balance of both. And so by doing so, it's creating the optimal product. So how do we do this, right? How do we do this? We do this by creating faculty, teachers, students, staff members who have AI literacy skills. So what is AI literacy? We're going to jump into that right now. We know, most of us, I would assume, that there are critical literacies that we're already teaching our students, such as digital literacy, right? The ability to understand, evaluate, bring information in, right? Research, filter, organize, communicate using different technology. We've got data literacy, where we're focusing on the ability to collect the data, manage it, evaluate, and apply it. Then the third literacy in this triangle is AI literacy. AI literacy is not something that's brand new. It's a concept that started becoming more prominent in the 80s. We did have AI in, years and years before now. So AI literacy was a concept that has been in existence, but we're hearing more about it now because we're recognizing, hey, wait a minute, with all of these AI tools and the prevalence of these tools being used, we need to make sure that everyone is literate. And so what does that mean, right? So AI literacy has three components. The first being technical. So if you are AI literate, you have an understanding of the basic principles of how AI works, the types of AI, how do algorithms work, how are these models trained, right? We're looking purely at the technical. Then the second component is the practical, knowing how to interact effectively with AI and understanding the application of it. What tool do I want to use? Why is this the best tool? Why am I choosing it? How do I use this tool? And then, of course, the ethical. And this is the piece that I'm just now starting to see more people talk about. Recognizing the implications of using these tools and what are the ethical considerations? How might an AI tool impact society as a whole, for example? What could this AI tool, what impact could it have? Could it have a negative impact? Sure. Are we seeing that? Sure, right? We know there are, fake videos and it is, you can now take a picture of someone, upload it into an AI tool, and with as little as 3 seconds of their voice, which you can easily get, if you wanted to impersonate someone that is already online or someone famous, you grab a couple seconds of their speech, you put in the AI tool, you put a script in, and now you could have a famous person or a president, a leader saying what you want them to say, right? So these are things that we are seeing already. We're seeing people using AI in unethical ways. And so it's really important that we're drilling in and talking about the ethical use. One of the questions that I saw submitted was like, how do we, encourage our students to not use these tools unethically? Well, believe it or not, one of the best ways to promote academic integrity is the relationship between teachers and students. Research has shown that strong relationships lower the amount of unethical use or cheating. Understanding how a tool could be used, what is the best way to use it, and how will it impact my own educational journey? Is it going to shortchange me? Keeping things relevant, using a blend of AI, and keeping that balance. And so ethical is that third important piece. And when we talk about AI literacy, there are many, many, many definitions. The definition that you're seeing here now is the one that I pulled together from an extensive amount of research and literature reviews. And so I think of AI literacy as a multidimensional concept that encompasses the knowledge and skills, right? The knowledge is that first part, the technical. The skills is the practical, needed to understand, evaluate, and engage with AI technologies. The evaluate, right? That's that ethical piece. It includes understanding fundamental AI concepts, applying it in practical contexts, and critically evaluating AI technologies and considering ethical implications. So my definition encompasses those three components that have continually popped up in research as critical for AI literacy. Now, what I do with schools and other educational organizations when I'm working with them to either develop policy or on professional development is I encourage them to create their own definition of AI literacy because there isn't one true definition. They can adopt one that's already out there, such as this one you see in front of you, or they can think about, hey, what does this mean to us in our unique environment? And how does AI literacy look in our school and our institution of higher education? It may not look the same in every environment. And so you may look at AI literacy from, if you're in an industry, it may look a little bit different. But it really should always have those three components of technical, practical, and ethical. But how that hashes out might be different. Does anyone actually work somewhere that has an AI literacy definition? Thumbs up. If you can give me a thumbs up if you do, or if you're even talking about it yet. Right? So I'm not really seeing any, and that's not surprising. There we go. Yay. Here come a few. So that's great. So I saw a few coming up. This makes me feel good. I was just about to say, oh, it's not surprising if you're not, but this is fabulous. I'm glad because this is where you start, right? You cannot, a lot of the other questions I saw were, how do I integrate this into my classroom? You cannot integrate anything until you have a definition of AI literacy. And so in order to do that, you want to develop ethical guidelines before you jump into this, right? You need comprehensive policies. You need to talk about how are we going to embed ethical AI use in our curriculum and talk about developing an ethical AI framework with collaboration among all stakeholders. There are existing AI frameworks out there. UNESCO has ideas. Different countries have put different things out. So I encourage you to do a little bit of research. There may be something there that you can already use. For example, when I talk about ethical frameworks, we usually create a blueprint for integration. We make sure the framework addresses privacy and security, and then that integrity, right? Academic integrity, respect, equitable access, all of those should be part. You can check out the institution or the Institute for Ethical AI in Education. They do have a framework that's out there that you can adapt. So now we know what it is, but what do we do with it, right? So how do we support, how do we build AI literacy in our students, right? I suggest that we look at this in the form of core concepts, right? What are the foundational pillars? This is how I developed my framework. I looked at research and I said, well, what are the 3 or 4? I came up with 3 main areas where AI would serve or would come in as play a role. What are those core concepts? Where do we want them to connect? What's important to our students? And what I found was the use of AI and in the construction of AI literacy, I saw most often digital empowerment, creative innovation, and global connectivity as core concepts that we want our framework to fall into. And so in my book, I present, and I won't go through all of these because I want to make sure we have time for questions, but I do present key competencies that I believe are important in achieving digital literacy, and achieving AI literacy, right? And so you can look at these. I have 8, right? These 8 include the data literacy and digital literacy, which we are already doing with our students, right? If you're moving towards digital citizenship, or you've been using global thinkers or those types of terminology, you're probably looking at data and digital literacy as well. So I took these 8 competencies and how do they fit into those 4 buckets? And you can see that there's an overlap. So it's not that one competency is going to fall into digital empowerment and another will fall into creative innovation. What's great about these is that they overlap and really giving a strength each student in building their their AI literacy skills. All right, so we define AI literacy. We then define what are those exact skills or competencies. You can use objectives, outcomes, whatever works in your learning environment. But how do we now get them in our curriculum? How do we identify intersections between current curricula and these new AI skills and weave them together? Right? We've got to create new pathways for learning. We can't keep doing things the old way. So your organization has created policy and a framework. You've defined AI literacy, and then you've identified some skills. 8 is lofty. I always encourage start with 1 to 3. Like don't make things too heavy as you're just starting. Start with 1 to 3 core competencies that you really want students to learn. And then you can use something like Bloom's digital taxonomy, right? If you're familiar with Bloom's taxonomy, we know that it's higher order and lower order thinking skills. The digital taxonomy came out. It's slightly different. It includes creating there at the top. And this is it gives you ideas how might you do that using some type of technology. And as you look at these technologies, a lot of them are AI related as well. Blogging, filming, podcasting, all of that can become AI. So we pick I'm just going to quickly show you how you can take one of these competencies. And so I'm going to look at that foundational knowledge. My first competency is they're going to be able to have an understanding of core AI principles, right? And so we can use Bloom's taxonomy and the different levels, starting at level 1, understanding. We may say a student who demonstrates an understanding would be able to explain the foundational principles as AI as they relate to their subject or field. And this is where I can show you this doesn't matter what you're learning, what subject, what field, because the foundational principles of AI will relate to just about every industry. I've yet to find something it doesn't. I mean, there are AI tools in real estate, right? How are those tools working for people who sell and buy homes? Applying was level 2. So now they're going to apply these to their field. And then they're going to analyze maybe potential different AI tools and figure out, okay, well, which one of these is going to be best for what I'm trying to achieve in my field, my subject, my topic, my context. Evaluating, someone could use an AI tool and use that to incorporate their knowledge of AI's impact on their area of interest. I may have a personal or professional learning goal to achieve something, and I can evaluate how AI might impact my area of interest, either positively or negatively. This is where that ethical piece would also come in. And then creating, right? For example, if we're talking about personal or professional goals, maybe they'll use an AI tool path, maybe they'll construct a career path that incorporates AI tools that will or are being used in that field. So when we look at how are we integrating this, the worst thing we can do is to say, oh, we're just going to give everybody a course in AI tools and then we're done. They're going to know how to use them. They will not know how to use them. It will not serve anyone to just do some, generalized course on AI because it's changing so rapidly, right? It's changing so quickly that one AI tool you might be introducing in a course in September, students who take that same course the next year will not be using those same tools, or even 6 months later. Things are changing so rapidly. So it's about identifying where does AI intersect with what our students are learning? How does it support it? How can it be used? You cannot give any student any assignment right now that is AI proof. That's just the way it is. There's an AI tool that will do everything. It used to be, oh, you could give a journaling and have them talk about their feelings. Well, guess what? AI can do that now. I can go into a tool and say, I need to write a journal entry for my teaching internship that I did today, and I want you to write something that that I got frustrated when students were behaving. It will write a 2-page journal entry about my feelings, what happened in the classroom, just with that. So we can't AI proof our assignments. We have to start integrating them in meaningful ways into our subject matter areas, whatever that may be, on varying levels, right? All the way from understanding all the way up to creating in alignment with Bloom's to support those competencies that we've defined to create AI literacy. So it really is, we're starting again with that umbrella of what is AI literacy? What does it mean to our school? What are the skills? And where do these skills and knowledge intersect with what we're already doing? So that does mean sometimes you identifying a tool and saying, oh, this is the tool, I want you to try this tool, or modeling tools. We know that all of our students don't have access to computers and these tools. And so modeling is one way to do it. There are also legal issues. A lot of these tools are for specific age groups. You don't want students opening up accounts with their phone numbers and personal information in your classrooms. So when you're working with younger students, you're modeling. You're using things like, that's a great question. Let me ask ChatGPT or Gemini what the answer to that is, right? Remember when our response was, oh, that's a great question. Let me go look that up in the encyclopedia. Yes, that's how old I am. Let me go look that up in the encyclopedia. And then it became, oh, that's a great question. Let me look that up on Ask Jeeves. Oh, that's a great question. Let me Google that. Well, now we can say, oh, that's a great question. Let me use a generative AI tool to find that answer. And that's modeling. And then you get the answer and you fact check. Because remember, it's not infallible, it makes mistakes. And so when we talk about that ethical piece, don't forget, that's also educating our students about implicit bias. What might you see when you use these tools? What should be red flags? What is not true? And so how do we know if students are using AI? Let's say we give a writing assignment. How do we know if they're using it? We don't. Are there AI detection tools? Yes. Do they work? No. They are a waste of money and they are a waste of time. There are lawsuits out there already. Studies have shown they've taken the same paper, put it into 6 different tools, gotten 6 different outcomes. So there are no good tools to determine it. That's why it becomes our responsibility to develop assignments that incorporate it, and also to make sure our methods of assessment are now updated to reflect what's happening. So one of the things I do in my classes is I'll say to students, hey, you could either write this paper, use ChatGPT, have it brainstorm, use an outline and write your paper, or you can have ChatGPT write your whole entire paper. But if you take that route, you've then got to tell me, here's the draft that ChatGPT gave me, here's the fact checking I did, here's the revisions I made, here's some bias that I identified, and here's my final paper, right? They're still learning, they're still writing, and they're still demonstrating understanding of the topic because they've got to fact check it, right? And make sure that it's true. And so when we talk about it, I mean, that's just a quick, easy way. I do that in my classes all the time. I also do things like, hey, you've got to create a slideshow. Well, guess what? In my higher ed, career, I've never seen any students get actual courses in graphic design, but we're expecting them to make slideshows, right? So I'll say to them, write the script. Let an AI tool make your slideshow, go back through it, clean it up, brand it, do it, make it look nice. You don't have to be a graphic designer. It's not the graphics I'm looking for, it's the knowledge I'm looking for. And so there are ways to get students to start using these so that when they leave us, right, the big picture is our students are leaving with a diverse skill sets, right? They've got those essential skills and they're ready for different roles, different industries, whatever path they're going on. We're fostering equal access, right? Equitable access to AI education by weaving it into our classroom and our curriculum, breaking down those barriers. And we're really creating like a mindset of continuous learning and adaptability because things are changing so quickly. Hey guys, last year when you were in 8th grade, this was going on with ChatGPT. Well, here we are in 9th grade, and these are the changes. No worries, we got this. Let's, keep moving through it. And so when we talk about this, the most important piece that I can give you is making sure that whether you're creating lessons, creating assessments, whatever it is you're doing, you want it to be balanced. The message should be, when we talk about academic integrity, how do we get our students to not cheat? The message should always be, it has to be a blend of human and a blend of AI meeting in the middle to create that balance. So thank you so much. This is my contact information. I love questions. Feel free to email me. I'm happy to answer them. I'm going to open up the Q&A now and see what we have here. So do you think it's better to include AI literacy on student subjects? Yes. Yes. Can students watch students use AI and demonstrate how to use it? Yes. And that's what I'm saying. With the lower grades, you're really going to want to model it because those students should not be using it, right? And part of your policy and your AI framework is going to need to include things like, when do we need parent permission, right? You probably, most schools have some type of educational technology, internet policy. Where does AI fall into that, right? Do we need permission from parents? So modeling for younger students, and then for older students, getting them engaged. And one of the ways to do that I've seen most schools do this most successfully is through Google Suite, because you can add that Gemini and use that. ChatGPT is very, very expensive. That is why the University of Arizona is not providing it to students and faculty. It would have cost them $38 million a year, right? So I think that Google's doing a great job by integrating it. So there are a lot of schools that are Google schools. And then there are free tools out there. So you can also be doing that. Yes, checking the meaning of words. ChatGPT loves the word delve. D-E-L-V-E in English. I know when I see a paper that has the word delve, I'm like, oh yeah, this student used ChatGPT. They also use different, they use very similar patterns, and ChatGPT loves bullet points. It will put a phrase and then a colon and then explain it. So there are certain things that once you start using it, you will totally recognize, right? Oh, I know what happened. If students are putting in simple prompts, then you're going to get very similar responses for assignments, right? It's all about the prompt. And a great tip for you is if you're not great at prompting your tool, you can simply say, hey, I want to do this. What do you need from me? So I might say, hey, ChatGPT, I want to create a lesson plan about simple addition. What do you need from me? And then it'll give me a list of 12 questions. I answer those 12 questions and it creates an amazing lesson plan for me. Is there any website suitable for students where it only focuses on education? There's one coming out, I know, so I don't know if you are familiar with Magic School is one for teachers, and they are coming out with Magic School for students, which will be education focused for students. So yes, and are there others out there coming out? Yes, but Magic School, I think, is leading the way in that, and you can probably jump on their website and get a great idea. It's not out yet, but it is coming out. How do I tackle when students deny using AI? You can't. You can't, because you can't prove it. I mean, you could suspect it, but there's actually no way to prove that a student has used AI to do a paper, right? There's just no way to do it. There are no tools that to do it. Is there a way to know from which platform or app do students use to create writings? No. Yeah, it's really difficult because there aren't any detection tools, right? There really are not. And I think the best way to know whether a student might be using AI is to know your students. You understand your students, you know what their levels are, you know what their writing levels are. And I would never accuse a student. What I say is, hey guys, if you're going to use AI, just put a disclaimer, say something like this and tell me how you used it. That's a great first step. We don't want to be punitive. Punitive measures, punishing students never works. Punishing students for students plagiarize. We know that, right? They already do it. They're already taking words from somewhere else. We know they do that. We know they're using AI. But if we set a policy that punishes them, it's not effective. We need policies and frameworks that encourage its effective ethical use. And we really need to focus on academic integrity. And the best way to get students to want to do their work is to make it relevant and meaningful to them. So incorporate the AI into meaningful and relevant assignments. And I think you'll find that what you get from your students will be really, really amazing. And then finally, you can find, if you're interested, my book is available as an ebook on Amazon.com. And it basically walks you through with much more detail some of the things and more that I've talked about today. And the final chapter does talk about what should school leaders be doing to support their teachers. So I thank you very, very much. I've really enjoyed being here and speaking with you. And again, if I didn't get your question and you would like to ask me, please feel free to send me an email and I'm happy to do that. I'll turn this back over.
Thank you very much, Ms. Christina Agvin, for your informative presentation. And again, thank you everyone for spending your weekend morning with us here in Asia. And on your side, Christina, I get it's nearly midnight, like coming to midnight already. So
yes.
Thanks a
Yes,
lot
and
for your energy at the end of the day, and just to have that much energy. My
yeah.
admiration.
Oh, thank you. And the name of, someone just asked, the name of my book is called AI Engaged Future-Proof Learning. And so you can find that on Amazon, AI Engaged. I also have a book that I wrote earlier, Chat GPT, Superhero or Villain. That was based on GPT-3, but it's got some great information on it. How can you write prompts? And that also is available on Amazon too, if you're interested in learning prompting and lesson planning and things like that. So thank you.
Okay, everyone. So the next coming webinar will be on the 22nd of June, 2024, presented by Ms. Raquel Carlos. We hope that we can welcome you, a lot more of you to that webinar with us. Okay. So thank you. And before we say goodbye, please complete the surveys that will pop up after you leave this webinar. Again, the survey will pop up after you leave this webinar. The certificate download instruction will be sent to you within 1 day, along with the link to the recording of today's session. 10 lucky participants will each receive a premium account for EduLink Speak app, a month access, offering courses on communication, IELTS prep, TOEFL prep, etc., with AI-powered feedback and real conversations. The list of winners will be announced on our EduVerse newsletter May issue and our social media. Thank you to EduLink Speak for the gift. And don't forget to join us on our Facebook and LinkedIn page for more updates and practical teaching ideas. Finally, we truly appreciate your active participation I look forward to reconnecting with you on our next event. Keep that flame of learning alive, and until we meet again, take care and stay curious. For those who are in Vietnam, enjoy your coming holiday. Thank you again, and have a fantastic weekend, everyone.